What's going on, you guys? AJ Tucker here with AJ Self Defense, and today I want to talk about Miss Mercedes Morr. She was an Instagram star with over 2 million followers. She was found dead in her apartment in Houston, and it's a bad day, man. I just wanted to talk about it though, because there's some things that I want to say about it, some points that I want to make. So she had over 2 million followers. She was even followed by Snoop Dogg and Meg Thee Stallion, and so the sky was the limit for this young lady. I mean, she would make different appearances and things of that nature, and she was well known. Now, the thing is, though, whenever you're well known, there's problems that comes along with that. There's no telling who's watching you, and it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to stay out of harm's way. So the previous week, her sister and her mother had checked on her, and everything was going great. Everything was going fine. But they did another welfare check on her, and that's when she was found dead. But she was also found with Kevin Alexander Accorto. And it's basically a murder-suicide. And so he strangled her, and then he killed himself. And the police report says with repeated sharp force trauma or something like that. And, the investigators, and this is all alleged right now, all right, the information is still coming out. The investigators talked to the family, and they said she had no relationship with this guy. She did not know this guy. And so they are basically saying it was a stalking situation. And, to be honest, when you have 2 million followers, even if you have 100 followers, even if you have like 10 followers on Instagram or 0 followers, you can have a stalker. And it said that this man came all the way from Florida. He resided in Florida, went all the way from Florida to Texas. And so it's obviously a stalker. And it happened in her apartment. And supposedly the apartment was a gated community. It was, there's security there, but there's always ways that you can get in. And so when it comes to, there are times where there is nothing that you could do. There's nothing that you could have done differently to get out of this situation. This is a definite tragedy. But when it does come to things like social media, right now we're more visible than ever. And in some cases, the more visible you are, the more beneficial that is to you and your business. There's influencers on Instagram, you build your following, and it brings about opportunities. But the bigger your following, the bigger the dangers out there. And so there's some women right now. Well, when did Instagram come out? I'm not really sure, but I know it was already popular, years ago. And so if you have a kid, so like I have a daughter right now that she's 13, and at one point she had an Instagram account, and I was like, what are you doing with an Instagram account? So I went on her account, and I saw some of her friends from school following her, but then I saw some other people following her, like, guys that were some grown men, so they just see you, they follow you. And so you want to have ways to guard your information. You definitely want to keep your government name off of Instagram. So whenever I say government name, that means your first and your last name. And so if you're watching this video, especially if you're a female, even if you're a male, you need to go right now to Google and type in your first and last name and see what comes up. For some of you, nothing will come up. But then for others, everything will come up. I have a lot of students in self-defense. The first thing that I do with them before I teach them anything with self-defense, I'll Google their name. I'll take the form and I'll put in their first and last name. And then whenever I meet with them for a consultation, I'll show them my findings. And I am not a detective or a PI or anything like that. I am simply putting your first and last name in Google. Sometimes whenever I put them in Google, everything will come up. Their address will pop up. Their first and last name will pop up. Their mama will pop up. The name of their husband, the name of their parents, the name of their kiddos will pop up just from simply putting their first and last name in there. And there's times where nothing will pop up. So if you do go to Google, and I'm not saying her real name was up there, because obviously her Instagram name was Miss Mercedes Morr, and I don't think that was her real name or anything like that. But what I am saying is, if someone puts in your real name, they can easily get your address and all your information. And all they have to do is follow you and kind of see what your movements are, And so I will put these people's names in from the form. And if everything pops up, we'll sit down in a consultation and I'll tell them all that I found. They'll be like, oh my God, I can't believe I found all this stuff. And so all you have to do, whatever is listing your address, you can contact those companies by email, or you can call and request to have your names taken off. If you do have an Instagram, you definitely want to put it on private unless that person is following you. There's ways that you can guard against somebody finding your location. Even though it's not impossible to find your location, you want to make it as hard as possible when it comes to things like this. If you do have a kid, they could be in high school, and when somebody is under the age of 18 and you put their first and last name in, you're really not going to find anything pop up. But if somebody's in college, let's say you have a daughter who, they've taken like all the self-defense in the world, right? But they're very popular on TikTok. They're very popular on Instagram, and they have their actual first and last name. It's pretty easy to locate that person. I did a piece last year during Christmas time. There were a lot of influencers out there. There was a lot of TikTokers. There was a lot of Instagram models. They had a following. And so what they would do is they would put their Amazon wish list on there, and their followers would buy them the gifts. There were people getting like $50,000, $60,000, $100,000 worth of gifts. All they had to do was put it on their list. And at that time, I was talking about how there's a way that they can find your address. So if I went on and I made an Amazon account, right? So let's say you make your list and you say, hey, I want a certain type of bottled water. So let's say I have this smart water right here, right? I want this type of water. All I have to do is look at that list and go to Amazon and make a third-party company using that particular product. And then I go to your list and I purchase that product. So if I'm a third-party company and somebody puts in an order, I have to fill that order. I have to put in your address and I have to ship that product to you. So let's say if I'm a stalker and there's something that you wanted, all I have to do is put up a company that sold that product or that sells multiple products and purchase that product. And then I have your address. Then I have a way to find you. And so if you are doing it, I'm not telling you to just cut off everything and not have a business. But if you do have a business online where you are an influencer and people, they get you stuff, you definitely want to have some type of P.O. box, or you want to have some type of business address. It doesn't make you invisible. It doesn't make you unable to find, but it does make you hard to find. You're just setting up different layers of defense. And so I do want to talk about that, but just very tragic. The sky was the limit for her. And, just want to send a prayer out to her family and hope everything's okay. Obviously it's not okay, but hopefully, they can come out through this on a more positive note. But anyway, man, that's all I got for now. Tell me what you think, man. If you are an influencer, or if you have a kiddo that has a lot of followers and you're like, ooh, I don't feel comfortable with that, or something that you do to keep your name out of the public eye. I'll talk to you next time, man.